Happy. What are we on now? We're on Thursday. No, today's Wednesday. Oh my gosh. The days, they're just they're just going through. Oh my god, I gotta shave. That's crazy. Oh my gosh. You know, let's see, what's going on today that I want to talk about? You know what I learned today? That I was not expecting to learn about at all. This was not on my list of things to. I look so crazy. Not on the list of things I was expecting to hear about today. Um, I learned about porta potty parties. Have you guys heard about porta potty parties? um, what do, where do we begin with this story? I saw this story a while back. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, there was a Ukrainian model that I want to say she technically got tricked to go to Dubai. Um, I believe she was supposed to go to Thailand. She overslept. She missed her flight. She ran into this Russian guy that told her that, hey, my daddy has a jet plane, and I'm going to Thailand too. And yeah, how about you come stay with me, and I'll take us to Thailand? And she was like, sure. And then I guess he was with another Russian, I believe, like another Russian, two other Russian guys and another a woman, and so they just took her, and then they took her passport and whatnot, and the other lady left, and next thing you know, it's like the Ukrainian model with these Russian guys, and then I guess they took her to Dubai. Oh no, I'm sorry. She was already in Dubai. That's the story. Oh my gosh. The stories are all blending together now. She was already in Dubai. I'm sorry. And she was trying to get to Thailand. That's the story. And they just wouldn't let her leave. And there was another lady. She left. And I guess they wanted to, I guess, force themselves on her or something of that nature. She got away, and she ran to a construction site. Next thing she knows, she wakes up black from a blackout. I guess she got hit in the head, and she's in the hospital with. I'm trying to remember exactly. Like I said, I read this story earlier this morning, and I was like, "What is a porta potty party?" And I was like, "What is going on in the world?" And oh yeah, she had, I believe, I know for sure she broke her spine was broken, and she like suffered all kinds of different injuries, but the main one was she broke her back. Um, who knows what happened? If you guys don't know what a porta potty party is, I guess it's a thing that's pretty common in Dubai where they kind of like lure women into like a party or whatever, and then they just like go crazy and do whatever to the lady, and they call it a porta potty party because I guess, it's like dumpster party. You know what I mean? What I'm trying to say is like they just dump everything on whatever they want on the ladies. And yeah, so I mean, I remember reading this story a long time ago, and it's getting traction again because I first read the story, they just found her. I remember seeing the story before a while back, 2 months ago, I believe, and it's coming back up again because now she's like out of the hospital, and I guess she's doing interviews and whatnot from a wheelchair. She has to learn how to walk again. That's, I don't know. That's so dark. It's a dark world out there. That's what I have to say about that. Um, if you know somebody that's a hottie body that gets gets offered one of those Dubai trips, that is on the table of what could happen to them. I'm laughing, but I'm kind of like it's insane. A porta potty party. Porta potty party. Ugh. That was not what I was expecting to learn about today. Um, and apparently it's like a common thing, and I'm really surprised about that because from what I understand about like Dubai and just their overall culture, they're very conservative. It's like a very strange thing. Like they're very flashy at the same time not flashy. You know what I mean? If you met people that are from like that area, they're like very flashy. They like love to show off their wealth, but at the same time they're very like low key about it. Not like I think the worst offenders of like being overly flashy, or I have to say Asians. I don't know why. Like, have you ever seen like the it's like they're usually from China, but it's like the overly branded designer branded person. I don't know. It's a bad look. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I was not expecting to learn about porta potty parties today. That's something I learned today. I was not expecting. What else happened today that you were not expecting uh, to learn about? Let's see. We can go into more Epstein stuff. Okay, just real quick on the Epstein stuff. I don't know if people are tired about talking about it or not. I'm not. I find it very fascinating because it's like there's so many weird random twists and turns that I was not expecting. And then this, I mentioned this earlier. The whole thing seems like a it seems like a avoidable problem. Like this is not a problem that should have been a problem. I That's what I feel like. Um, as the Epstein thing is unfolding, I think. Oh, I know what happened today. That's new about the Epstein stuff. If you guys aren't following along, is that supposedly the DOJ told Trump that he was in the files back in May, like a long time ago. I don't know. May sounds based on how things are going. May was a long time ago. May was before a lot of stuff came out. Um, this is May. What in May we were no one was even talking about Epstein, and they told supposedly the DOJ told Donald Trump that he's all over the Epstein files back then, and it kind of like if you rewatch how things unfolded with that fact, it kind of makes a little bit more sense. But and okay, I have to throw this out there. I don't get the I don't get the defense. Because all this is political theater stuff. I don't understand the plan, I guess, with Trump and Epstein. I just don't understand the plan. If I was in that situation, let's say I'm Trump, Asian Trump, and Epstein thing comes up, if it was me, I would have just said, "Yeah, of course I'm in the Epstein files. I'm his buddy. I was his buddy." you know, like I find the strategy strange. The whole like I don't even know who that guy is strategy is crazy. Am I taking crazy pills here? Because I feel like the I don't know who this guy is strategy is not working. And maybe it's at the point where he's said it so many times that there's no going back. You know how Trump is. Like usually how he works is once you start pushing him back, he doubles down. And maybe he's tripled down at this point that he doesn't want to go back and just say like, yeah, of course I'm in the files. There's like a billion photos of me and him together, and there's videos of me and him together, and all this stuff. Yeah, we're friends. Doesn't Because here's the thing: just because he's in the files and just because he's friends with Epstein doesn't mean that he did anything nefarious. Oh, I love the word nefarious. By the way, it's not a word that you get to use very often. Feels good every time you say it. Nefarious. You know what I mean? Like just because you whisper sweet nothings into his ears, and he laughs like I don't think I've made anyone laugh like that before. Have you guys seen the clip? I'm sure you must have seen the clip of of Trump whispering into Epstein's ears, and he just like buckles over laughing. Oh my god! I wonder what he said. I've never made anyone laugh. I mean, I if they have, if I have made someone laugh that hard, it's like one of those like, ho, 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 you silly dog, like a fake laugh. But I've never, I don't know. It's very rare, I guess, to whisper something into somebody's ears and make them laugh that hard. Well, yeah, one thing is, my wife keeps always says is, Trump, you have to give it to him. He's funny. Trump is a funny guy. And I wonder what he whispered in his ear. But anyways, back to what I was talking about. He should have literally like this whole thing literally would have blown over completely if he just said like, yeah, of course I'm in Epstein files. And of course I was on the flight logs. Of course I've been to the island. Of course I've done blah blah. Epstein and I were best buddies, you know? And just because that he did something doesn't mean that I did something. You know where I'm getting with this? If he just did that, I think everyone would have just moved on. But he's acting like a super guilty person. Like, Congress shut down early. That's a crazy story, too. That Congress shut down right when they're supposed to vote on the Epstein stuff, and then Mike Johnson's like, no, we're not doing this right now. Okay, and imagine. I feel like I've never. Okay, I'll say this. I've never felt so nervous for someone else's life before. I'm very nervous about Ghislaine's life because this can go. Sorry, I'm trying to get something. This can go so many different ways for Ghislaine over. And keep in mind, we're only on year one to Trump's terms, and we're we're. It feels like we're in another make it or break it cycle. Uh, and I just feel like Ghislaine, uh, is in a very strange situation because if there is a cover up, it would be very convenient if she. Okay, you know what I was thinking though? It'd be very fun. Yeah, if we're already gonna go down this path. What would be very fun is they. I mean, they're already kind of there. You might as well just have. Okay, okay. This is what I'm predicting. Okay, and this is just for fun. Okay, before anyone clips anything and says this random Asian kid or guy in the car is saying crazy stuff. This is just for fun. It'd be very interesting if they have the meeting, if with Ghislaine Maxwell, and she says it was all Obama. I think that would be so funny. Um, if they just have a meeting with her, and they just offer her a pardon or give her, scratch her a little bit, and they just be like, and then he just be like, hey, um, put in these names on the list because at this point right now, Ghislaine Maxwell holds a lot of keys, and she literally can do like McCarthy style. Like Urakami. You remember history class that whole Red Scare time where literally someone calls you a commie. Um, it's lights out, no proof, nothing. Like it's you're done. I can totally imagine a scenario where they make some kind of back end deal with Ghislaine. Or, they don't really need Ghislaine. I also just found out today that Jeffrey Epstein has a brother that's still alive. And I was thinking, you have his brother, even though he possibly never did anything nefarious. Ooh, I got to use the word again. If I'm just throwing it out there as a fun scenario, imagine if Jeffrey Epstein's brother just starts naming some random person. Just be like, you know what? I was hanging out with my brother on a particular island, and I was in a room down the hall, and I heard some voices, high pitched voices that may have not matured, just heard some high pitched voices. And I heard the voice of Barack Obama with, you know what I mean? Like, and then they're like, what? Jeffrey Epstein's brother says Barack was on the island too. And then nobody fact checks anything, and they just run with it. I could totally imagine that's a scenario that could happen down the road. Or, I'm just saying, throwing it out there. They have a meeting with Ghislaine, and Ghislaine says, you know what? And they do some kind of like pardon deal or whatever with her, and she goes, you know what? Everybody, Barack was was on the island. Nobody's fact checking nothing. And boom, they're gonna be like, Ghislaine. I can already imagine the headline: Ghislaine Maxwell supposedly states that she saw a picture of Obama in Epstein's office. Like basically make it very vague. you know, like just like uh, she remembers seeing Barack's phone number in Epstein's Rolodex. For those that are super young and don't know what a Rolodex is, I guess, what people. I'm super too young to know, but I remember uh, when I was working in the office and working with some older guys, they used to use a Rolodex to keep all their contacts. And now, we have this thing called a computer, but back in the day, the dinosaurs used to use a Rolodex, and the Rolodex was basically a box, the little, and then inside the box there's like a wheel, and the wheel's got little papers on them, and then you write like contact information, and then they spin. You can spin it, and it's like, oh, I need to look up Johnny Smith, uh, Wang or whatever, and then you just like you spin it manually with your hands, to Johnny Smith Wang, and you're like, oh yeah, that's his number, and then something, then they could pull it out, and like it's like handwritten notes, old school. Just so you guys know what a Rolodex is, yeah. So like she's like she could just be like, hey, yeah, you know what? Ghislaine could just say like, hey, I was in Epstein's office one day, and I saw Barack's contact information in Epstein's Rolodex. See how vague that is? And then I can imagine the news cycle going, Jeffrey Epstein has Barack Obama's number. It's something like that. I can totally imagine that happening. That that sounds like, based on how things are going, that's happening. Anyways, um, I think that's it. That's the main things that I saw in the news today that was really, really, really interesting. One, I didn't know Jeffrey Epstein had a brother. So the fact that the people were just calling him Epstein is kind of weird now that I know that he has a brother that's still alive and out of, I don't know. That's kind of weird. I know, like, oh, the brother must have not done anything, but like still, Jeffrey was your brother, and he was a billionaire, and his specialty was making money disappear. You don't think he got a little bit? I don't know. Okay, that's one. We learned what a porta potty party was. That's very interesting. And oh, we learned that if do not deny you know somebody when there's so much information out there that you know somebody. That's it. All right. See you guys later.